like the Fen wants to come over and kill me, but they might get distracted here by the Sylvanas long enough for me to get away. I'm going to throw down an ulti and a 1 for him. I'm going to get a 3-man ulti right there. Plus, I'm going to give him a nice zoning tornado. Hello everybody, we are here with your Kukulkan mid lane guide. Kukulkan right now actually doesn't mind the meta too much because starter items have kind of fallen to the wayside, and the either Book of Thoth, Warlock Sash, or Rod of Tahuti start in mid lane is very popular. This actually kind of leaned into Kukulkan's meta, where he just wants to kind of sit back and farm and get a bunch of stacks. So we're going to be starting off here going into our Book of Thoth. Kukulkan probably the best Book of Thoth user in the game because of the way that it combines with his passive to just give him power on power on power. We're going to be starting off with beads, a health bot, and 2 mana pots. Starting, of course, with our whirlwind. This is the ability that we are going to grab here at level 1, and also the ability we're going to level max out first. Our level order on Kuku is pretty simple: 4, 3, 1, 2. Gotta level up our ultimate whenever we can, just for the raw damage increase. Our 3 when we can first, because it's going to increase the damage and it's going to reduce the cooldown, which is very nice. I gotta be careful because I'm gonna get some E-set, who has got really good early game clear, so I need to play it back. Then we'll rank up our 1 for the increase in damage and slow, and finally our 2, which is our getaway skill. But we really only need 1 point into it for it to be effective, so we're gonna grab that point at either level 3 or 4, depending on how worried we are about dying. So that was a pretty good sash right there on the brutalize to try to get it to stop. I'm trying to commit to this kill, but they're actually body blocking, so I can't get it, which is very smart. Pop me a mana pot right here. Not gonna be able to kill the Fenrir or the E-set, but I'm actually going to get a little bit of lane pressure off of this because now she has to be a little bit more careful. You can see that the E-set has opted to go into the Rod of Tahuti start. That's very smart to get that extra damage online on him. So I'm going to have to be careful on what items he's building first. He may go boots or Rod of Tahuti first, depending. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. I'm gonna ward these right side harpies. I would like to contest them if at all possible, but I also don't want to sacrifice my life. I am very at risk on Kukulkan, so I'm not grabbing my 2 here at level 3. I'm just gonna go the farm route. On Kukulkan, you have to play pretty far back. You're more of a farming god than you are an early fight god, and your damage really comes online in the late stage team fight. That's really where you're gonna thrive. Not so much that early pressure character. Now, the good news is that Kukulkan actually has quite good clear. Not really at level 1 and 2, but once you get to basically level 3, especially if you can get that second point in that 3, if you feel like you're safe enough, it's pretty much gonna full clear the entire wave. So he does have very good lane clear, which is important right now because he can rotate around the map, and he can get credit for all of the jungle farm. So he doesn't have that really ultra early level 1 fight clear potential, but once you get to about level 3, you're gonna be fine. So now that I'm level 4, I'm gonna grab a point in my 2, so that way I have this as a getaway skill. Our 2 is gonna increase our movement speed. It's also gonna make us slow immune. It's gonna cleanse us of slows and make us slow immune for just like half a second. So if you have a slow on you, or you think you're about to get slowed, you can actually throw down your second ability to gain that movement speed and try to get away. So Kukulkan does not have a real good getaway skill. The only thing that we have is our slither. So that means that any god with a lock-on ability is a disaster for us. So one of the most noted counters to Kukulkan is Fenrir, because I cannot stop the Fenrir brutalize. The Fenrir Brutalize absolutely wrecks us, so we are going to have to get a, wow, what a good Ninja ulti off of that. A Aegis this game. An Aegis will help us live through that Fenrir Brutalize when he uses it on us. We had to get the beads early because of the E set. She simply has too much CC. Also, Fenrir ulti is a lot of CC. So in the early game, in order not to get killed by that over and over again, what I'm going to try to do is just get out some nice deep wards so I know where the enemy is going to come from, and then just play more passive. If my ulti is up, I'll throw out an ulti like we just did, try to go for a quick kill. But otherwise, I'm just playing back and farming. The longer this game goes, the more that I can get my stacks building up, the better off I am. We're really looking for that mid-game team fight situation. So slows in general, not problematic for us on Kukulkan because of our 2 slow immunity. But we hate going against, like we said, Fenrir, any god that has those lock-on abilities. We also hate walls. Ymir is a really good god this season, arguably the best support in the game. And his wall is a disaster for us on Kuku. And it goes for all walls. Odin, Thor, whatever. All of those are going to be extremely hard for us to deal with. So we don't want to hopefully go against any of those. Those are the main things that we are concerned about on Kukulkan. Those auto-locking abilities. And those wall generations that put us in a really hard spot. So for my second item, I'm going to get myself Shoes of Focus. A lot of mages right now, you go the Shoes of the Magi for the power, but the Shoes of Focus, because it gives us that 250 mana on our passive, plus on, you know, the Book of Thoth, we're basically just going to get about as much power out of the boots as we are the power boots, which means we're basically just gaining 10% CDR, and it only costs us 50 more gold. So I'm gonna have to throw down my ulti right here, and I'm gonna have the beads, and I'm probably just gonna die. I don't think there's much I'm gonna be able to do here. So I was too far forward there anyway. I shouldn't have been that far forward. I had my Sylvanas with me, so I thought maybe I could move up with my Sylvanas, but what I should have done is honestly just throw down my tornado and walk back towards the wave. You could see that between the Sylvanas pull right there and then the Fenrir Brutalize, there was just nothing I could do. That's 452 damage. That is unavoidable unless you have an Aegis, which is half of my total HP. So even regardless of the other abilities being used right there, if I ever get a Brutalize on me, I'm basically dead. So I need to be staying back even further. So my goal is going to mostly be to just clear these waves and then run away. I'm throwing down a tornado, and I am waddling. Farming up the jungle as much as I can. Your rotation time is actually fairly quick on Kukulkan, as long as you use your slither to get over there. So if a fight breaks out in the side lanes, you can tend to rotate pretty well, especially because you can start rotating before the wave is actually cleared. So if I want to rotate over to this E set, I can throw down my tornado on the wave, and then I can just start rotating right on over before it even gets to a further point, which is very nice. It also means that you can get a pretty decent XP lead. Holy Apollo damage. I got to be careful here with the Fenrir. There's the E set right there coming over. Looks like the Fen wants to come over and kill me, but they might get distracted here by the Sylvanas long enough for me to get away. I'm going to throw down an ulti and a 1 for him. I'm going to get a 3-man ulti right there. Plus, I'm going to give him a nice zoning tornado. I don't know if we're going to get any kills off of that. We are. We're going to at least get 1. Plus, we're going to be able to get away. So right there, you kind of see the best case scenario for a Kukulkan. You're really looking to fight in the jungle. The jungle is actually better this season for Kukulkan than it was last season. So for the same reason why Ymir is better this year, Kukulkan's also better in this regard. The jungle itself is like a bigger place, but the actual area where you walk through the jungle is a lot smaller. So all of these little individual corridors are a lot skinnier, which means that if you throw down a Cuckoo ulti through one of these corridors, you have a much better chance that it's gonna hit because there's a lot less width for people to actually dodge it, which really helps out Cuckoo in the jungle. It also means that you can utilize your tornado as a tool to completely zone out in a fight. So right there, I threw down my ultimate, hit some people off of Sylvanas, and then I threw down the tornado, and that tornado, because of its width, actually completely blocks out them from running through it. And then they have to make the executive decision on whether or not they are going to run through a full-on Cuckoo tornado. Now it looks like they're kind of pressing up here. I wanted to go for those left side harpies, but it doesn't look like that's going to be an option, so I'm going to go ahead and back it up. On my third item here, I'm going to get myself a Warlock Sash. We are in no rush on Cuckoo, so I'm going to start stacking another item. If you're not a fan of the double stack, Cuckoo's really one of the only characters I would double stack on now, maybe also Baba Yaga. Now that the stacking items are generally considered better because we're not buying the starter item at the start. You can just go a Spear of Desolation or a Rod of Tahuti here. Rod of Tahuti is going to give you that same 10% pen, and we're going to end up getting it as an item anyway. I personally like to have a little bit more HP on my Kukulkan, especially against a god like Fenrir. I want a little bit more HP to make sure that I can live through those brutalizers. For gods that we like to partner with Kukulkan, we actually have a pretty decent team as far as that front is concerned. So the Sylvanas is a nice pairing. I'm gonna throw down a tornado right on top of myself and the whole team, so that way if the Fenrir comes in on this fight, he's gonna be sitting in a tornado, use my one when he comes down. So with Kukulkan, what we really want, unfortunately, back into that, we want a lot of setup. So we're looking for guys that have a long CCs. So a Nox combo, we love that with the Kukulkan. Sylvanas ultimate. Neja ultimate is the one that comes to mind the most. Ymir freeze. Anything that's a long duration CC that we can get off fairly consistently and reliably. So that way we can land either our tornado or our ultimate without even having to think about it. It's real nice when somebody else lands the hard abilities for you, and then you can just throw down your ultimate by counting down 1, 2, 3, and you immediately hit it. Kukulkan ultimate, one of the hardest hitting abilities in the entire game. And because there's so much potential power with our build that we're gonna get, you're gonna see some ridiculous scaling upwards to the point of where Kukulkan ult can, honest to God, one shot a squishy at the later stages of the game, especially if you have like a red pot and like the fire giant or something. It's nutty how strong it is. So my team is rotating over left. It looks like they're gonna go possibly for this purple buff. They're not gonna go for it. My team is gonna go for red. I'm gonna try to make sure that we get this purple. I'm gonna stop the E set from backing. And we're actually going to grab ourselves a quick kill right there. Now, I need to be a little bit careful. I'm going to throw down a defensive tornado. I'm looking up at the ultis from my team. I see that the Neja ultimate is up. I can also see that the Sylvanas ultimate is up. Arthur goes ahead, uses his ulti, so I'm going to throw down my ult, combine with it. Another great ultimate to combine. I'm going to call for help in the back line, just to make sure that my team is aware that the Fenrir is coming for me. And we might even be able to actually get some pressure onto this Fenrir. So the Arthur ulti's up, the Sylvanas into the air, and I don't even have to think about it. I just throw down my ulti right on the spot. The one thing on Kukulkan that's pretty important is to know generically how long other people's CCs last and at what times they last for. because you would want to use most of your abilities off of setup from other people, it means that knowing generically how long somebody is knocked up for in a Neja ult, in an Arthur ult, generically knowing what level and what length the Ymir freeze is gonna be, all of these things are really helpful for you, because then you can better time your ultimates, give yourself that little countdown, and then you don't have to miss them. So for my fourth item here, I'm gonna go into a Rod of Tahuti, and I'm also gonna be grabbing my Aegis. This Aegis is gonna be mostly for that Fenrir Brutalize, but also if I get stuck in any of their CC, there's a good chance that I get stuck inside of like an E-set ult, and I don't wanna be inside of that either, so the Aegis might help me live long enough to slither my way out of it. So the nice thing about this build is that we actually are gonna end up with 20% pen with these 4 items. Because Warlock Slash gives us 10%, and then our Rod of Tahuti is going to give us another 10. We have a lot of power. We only have 10% cooldown, but the thing with Kukulkan is that he doesn't actually need that much cooldown. It's not that relevant of a stat on him. The only thing it really helps with is your sneeze a little bit, but your tornado is going to be up whenever you need it. Your ultimate is a fairly decent cooldown. And so the CDR doesn't actually help that much with it, but the other thing it really does help with consistently is your sneeze. So I'm going to start rotating over here to left lane. I'm going to try to keep a wall between me and the enemy. Looks like they're going to go ahead and go down, so I'm going to counter this ward really quick, and then I'm going to stand back. I feel like they're going to go for the Gold Fury, so I want to be around the Gold Fury, but far enough away that they can't just come dive and kill me. Kukulkan, one of the better objective securers slash stealers in the entire game because of the raw damage on his ultimate. Also, you can combine your ulti and your one at the same time for even a little bit more secure. So if you're the one trying to secure the objective and you throw down the ulti, right when your ulti is about to hit, you can of course use your one for the sneeze, and you can get those damages off at practically the exact same time. No different than when you're using the E-set combo and you pop her ulti and the spirit ball at the exact same time to try to secure the objective. Honestly, this is probably the 2 best objective securers in the game. The E-set with the fully charged ulti and the Kukulkan with his ult, probably the 2 singular best gods in the game at actually securing an objective. Gonna back up, get myself a couple more wards, make sure I'm buying sentry wards and regular wards at this point. For my 5th item, we're gonna be getting our starter. We're gonna be going Sundering Axe. On Kukulkan, we don't get the Boombas. Like I talked about earlier, the cooldown isn't actually that relevant for us. What we're really a lot more concerned about is the damage. So I'm gonna ulti through on this Gold Fury. It's gonna get down to extremely low. I am gonna hit a couple of people here. I've got an Aegis because the Fenrir is brutalizing me. That is what we bought it for. Hopefully we're gonna be able to bring him down. And now I'm gonna continue charging into this fight, trying to cut off the E-set with my tornado, using it to try to block off that path. I don't block her off, but I do hit the Apollo as he lands right back inside of it. And even though we don't get the Gold Fury, we do land a very big ulti, spread everybody out, and win ourselves the team fight. So we're gonna be going the Sundering Axe. The Sundering Axe is gonna help us live a little bit longer through some of these brutalizes and stuff. It also combines pretty well with the Warlocks. We're gonna get ourselves that 10% HP siphon, so we like having a little bit more HP for it to siphon into. And for all intents and purposes, Sundering Axe is basically the Soul Reaver of Seasons Past. It's going to give you that damage, and it really wrecks tanks more so than anything. And it has a fairly low cooldown as well. Just a reminder, once again, we mentioned it at the start of the video, but as a mid laner right now, you do not get a starter item ever at the start. And then you end up going either a Sundering Axe or a Boomba's Hammer. In general, Sundering Axe means a god that's less dependent on cooldowns aka Kukulkan, Boomba's hammer, gods that are more dependent on cooldowns. Iset is a great contender for the Boomba's hammer because she wants all the CDR in the world so she can continue to spam her CC abilities. Now I'm going to go get a sentry ward over on the fire giant. On Kuku, make sure you're always throwing down that tornado before you leave, so that way you get credit for the wave. As a Kukulkan, you should basically 95% of the time in matchups have the XP lead. Few people can do better than you in the XP department because of the very specific way that you get to farm. Always tornado before you leave. The cooldown isn't honestly that long. You'll get credit for the wave as you run away, and then you go get all your farm in the jungle. So right now I've got a nice 2-level lead over the Iset. And a lot of that is just because I can throw down the nado and then go farm. Pyromancer is not a bad call here at all, so I'm going to rotate over to the Pyromancer with my team. Don't want to use my ulti for secure, so I'm just going to hold my 1 and then sneeze for the secure. That is going to be doing plenty of burst damage to secure a smaller objective like a Pyromancer. You can see right now it's doing about, give or take 700 damage. Give or take. Now they did counter my ward over on the fire giant, so I need to be aware of that. So I do want to get myself back over towards the fire giant, get some more vision over there. Now I don't quite have enough gold to get my full sundering axe, so most of the time you would only need 1500 gold, right, in order to rank up your starter. But because I never started with a starter, I actually need the full 2100. Just a quick review for those Sundering Axe stats that maybe don't know at the top of their head. To be fair, especially if you're a mid laner coming to learn how to do the Cuckoo guide, you're probably like, I don't know, man, I don't play solo lane. Why am I buying the solo lane item? Well, it's going to give you some great stats right off the bat. 30 of each protectance, 250 health. We love that for the defenses, but we're really doing it for that passive. Every 7 seconds, having a 10% total life drain. It's literally just having a Soul Reaver on a 10% cooldown. That's all it is. And not like current bad trash Soul Reaver, like old school broken Soul Reaver, but only on a 7-second cooldown. So Fenrir is coming for me, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and ulti right on my own face, pop an Aegis here, and I'm just gonna try to run away from this one. Looks like there's gonna be a Jormy coming for me. Throw down a little tornado. I'm gonna try to stick near my Sylvanas so that he can heal me, but also trying to position myself away from wherever this storm comes down. The second he comes down from that, I'm gonna hit him with my slow. I can see him in stealth. Sticking around my Sylvanas with the heals, we should be able to grab this tier 2 tower and be okay. Now this Jorm doesn't have his ulti up. This is actually a pretty easy kill here for us on this Jorm. And we should probably go get set up for the Gold Fury now. It is respawning momentarily. They've got 4 people dead. We could maybe have gone over towards the Fire Giant, but with me being at 300 HP, with our Arthur being at 25% HP, it is a little risky because the Iset will probably be able to spawn and make it there in time. Even if she can't, just the Sylvanas getting there could have been enough to kill us. After this red buff, gonna back up, get myself that Sundering Axe, and then I'm gonna take a quick gander at what exactly the enemy team is building to make sure that I have whatever item we're going to need to deal with it. So they've got a good bit of healing with the Iset and the Sylvanas. Fenrir, Apollo's gone into a little bit of lifesteal himself. Jorm actually has the Vamp strat. So here at the end of the game, I'm actually gonna go a late game Divine Ruin. They didn't have a really strong healer on their team, like a Guan Yu or an Aphrodite or something, so I wasn't so much concerned about the early game anti-heal, but at the end of the game, the Iset ultimate becomes one of the better heals in the game if she can get that thing fully stacked. So I'm gonna get the Divine Ruin here at the end of the game, not for the flat pen that it provides, because that's not super relevant. I would have rather had like an Ob Shard to max out my percent pen in that regard. But I'm going to be able to get some anti-heal online, which will provide a lot of value in these end game team fights, especially because Cuckoo is pretty good at applying the Divine Ruin as well, the Tornado AoE. Now there's a Jorm chasing me in stealth, so I'm gonna use my Slither just to kind of get away from that. We're getting some nice pressure over into the jungle, but I've got a Fenrir on me in the back, so I'm just gonna sit in my own Tornado. I need to be very careful. I'm gonna call for help in the back line, see if I can't get people back to me. A lot of the times as Kuku, when you're against somebody like Fenrir, you're gonna have to throw down some abilities on top of yourself. Throwing my ulti through the wall, hopefully gonna get the Jorm with that. I am throwing down a Tornado near my body again because I can hear the Fenrir behind me. So I want to make sure that he has to run into that Tornado if he wants to go for me. Using it as basically my own little personal defense. Now we have got all 5 of us alive, but our Nezha isn't with us. So after we grab this Phoenix, we should probably go do the Fire Giant. They've got the E set respawning here in about 5. If we go for this, no, let's play this safe. Let's go for the Fire Giant. So E set's gonna be out no matter what. If she has all of her abilities up, Arthur's low, I'm low. I don't have my ulti up. If I have my ulti up right there, we probably just go for the Titan because it's gonna help burst it down. But without it being up, we're winning all these team fights. No reason to risk it. Because best case scenario, right, we go in and we try to win the game right there. But I put it at maybe 50-50. And I don't think we've lost a single real team fight that we've had. And if we lose that fight right there, they immediately snowball back and get the Fire Giant, and then our 10+K lead becomes like a 3K lead, and they have the Fire Giant. So for all intents and purposes, then they are winning off of one silly trying to end play. This way, we stay in the lead. Now we just back up, buy another set of items, and we go attack left lane, grab that T2 down, and then go for the Phoenix, and probably just win the team fight and end the game. No reason to go for a riskier play when you're winning. Now, if you're losing, right, in that situation, if we had been historically losing the game up to that point, right, maybe that was the first team fight that we won all game, then I would call for the end right there, right? Because if we're just getting our butt kicked all over and we finally just miraculously win one because, I don't know, somebody on their team fat-fingered beads, then you call for the end and you take the 50-50. But if you're winning the whole time, if you're confident in your team, you never take the 50-50. Now, we need to be a little bit careful here. We don't have our Nezha with us. We don't have our Sylvanas with us. Both of them should probably already have been over here. We need our front line and our initiation to this point. So we need to just be careful now while we're waiting for them to come this way. I can maybe throw down some tornadoes. We see that the Jorm is over left. So I'm going to call for the attack left lane. If we can get somebody just in here tanking this Phoenix right off the bat, we're going to be able to go for it. We got to watch out for the Sylvanas blink combo. There it is. Fenrir's coming in the back as well, but he's already taken a lot of damage. Gonna use my ulti to aim it at him and the Apollo. Unfortunately, not quite gonna reach for the Apollo, but that's okay. Gonna try to throw down a tornado towards the E set. I'm gonna dive in towards the back line. Sylvanas is chasing me. We're gonna be able to bring him down, and now we're gonna call the attack, the Titan call, and be able to put this game away. See, no reason for us to have gone any riskier right there. We're winning the team fights. No point to go for something scarier earlier when I'm confident that the next time we take up a team fight, we're just going to be able to end it. So for our last item right there, we went the Divine Ruin because they had healing. You might need to get that Divine Ruin earlier if they have better healing. So maybe instead of the double stacking with the Warlock Sash, you grab the Divine Ruin earlier, and then you get like an Obsidian Shard at the end of the game, so you have more percent pen online. That's the type of stuff that you need to be thinking about. Maybe you get a Spear of Desolation at the end of the game because they didn't have any healing, and so you never needed any anti-healing at all until you actually get yourself a little bit more CDR. Plus, it's just a generically better item with the passive at that point if they didn't have the healing. So always keep in mind those little switches and swaps that you make as the enemy comp changes, guys. And that is our Kukulkan mid lane guide. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.